I'm Dr. Torkil Færø. I've written the book The Pulse Cure on how to use wearables to track your heart rate and your stress level. And we have just had a beautiful conversation with Dr. Ellen about how to do that. Hope you.
Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit. Hey everyone, Dr. Ellen here, the Midlife Whisperer. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I am thrilled that you're here today, boy, because we are going to share so much amazing information. You're going to learn the top 8 strategies that can help you add 24 extra years to your life. And I'm excited about this because personally, my biggest goal and dream in life is to make it to 100. And I think that a lot of us are going to be able to do that. And my guest is someone who knows firsthand how modern lifestyles can take a toll on your health. He is Dr. Torkil Færø, and he's a general practitioner, emergency medicine physician, documentary filmmaker, photographer, and he is the author of a really amazing book called The Pulse Cure. And he has 26 years of experience as a freelance doctor in Norway. He has had over 100,000 consultations, and he's gained invaluable insight into the diseases that affect us all. And more importantly, the underlying causes, which often stem from stressors we place on our bodies. So that perceived stress, the food, the sleep, so many things that, if you are a midlife woman, particularly if you are going through the menopausal transitions or you're in perimenopause, you're going to want to grab a cup of tea, not a glass of wine. Sometimes I say glass of wine, but I know Dr. Torkil really feels like alcohol plays a toll in terms of our stress. Take some notes because this is really valuable information. And his journey toward better health really began after the death of his father. And he realized that his own lifestyle, marked by 40 pounds, being overweight, stress, and not getting enough sleep, was shortening his lifespan, and I think his health span as well, because we want to talk about how long you're living, but also the quality of life that you have. And the interesting thing about what he's going to share today is he's going to talk all about wearables. So those smartwatches that you have, I know I've got a wearable for meditating called the Muse, which actually measures my brain waves. I have another wearable from HeartMath that measures my heart rate variability. All of these things can really give you profound insight into how healthy you are and where your health is going, kind of from a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis. So he's going to discuss the vital role of your heart rate in revealing your health, how smartwatches can guide you to better manage stress, and the future of preventative and personal medicine. And again, we're going to share those 8 strategies for adding years to your life and life to your years. So welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Dr. Torkil. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Ellen. Very nice to be here.
And thank you for your book. I'm still digesting it, and it's just such an interesting way, I think, of really empowering people to take charge of their health. I'm always amazed when I have a lot of eye issues. I've had 3 retinal detachments and cataracts, which I don't have so much control over, but I'm amazed when I'm with older people. So many people act as if ill health, disease, these chronic diseases that we know are associated with lifestyle just like hit you, like a tornado, and like you have no control over your health. Can you start off by talking about how much control we do have about how long we live and how we feel and the diseases that we experience in our lifetime?
Yes, and contrary to what we learned in medical school, we learned that getting a disease was a matter of luck or genetics, and it was the responsibility of the doctor to keep you healthy and the control of the doctor. But now we know that probably 80–90% of the diseases that we treat as doctors, that we struggle with and die from, we have a lot of more control of it than we thought, because these are all inflammation-based diseases affecting from our cellular level, the mitochondria and our autonomic nervous system, resulting in diseases, in all the body's organs, including the brain. So and on these diseases, we have so much more control. If you have a good lifestyle, we can live 24 years longer, as I mentioned here. It's a big American study that shows that if you have those 8 most important lifestyle factors on your side, you will live 24 years longer than the ones who don't have that. So It's we're talking decades, so we could reach 100. At least we should do our part of the job, and then the rest is up to luck. But we have so much more control than we used to think as doctors.
And it's not just disease. I mean, I eat right and move my body and work on my sleep and my stress, not just to prevent disease, but because you feel better now. Do you find that with your
Yeah.
clients when they start to make the changes, they feel so much better right now, and that's a really great motivation to keep going.
Yeah, because both well-being and productivity and performance and health and longevity is the same things you have to do to succeed in all of these things. So yeah, eating right, exercising, resting, staying away from alcohol, sleeping enough and restorative. And what is so beautiful is that all these good things will be revealed in the heart rate. So our heart rate will respond to any demand on our body. And so much of the stressors on our body, on our systems, come from surprising sources, like alcohol, like altitude, like the food that, and when we eat, if we eat too late at night. So there's so much that when we get the wearables, it is kind of a speedometer of our physiology, of the intensity of our physiology, then it's so much easier to get control and be motivated to do the tough choices that will give us a better life.
So before we kind of dive into how to use the smart devices to help us monitor our heart and improve our health, tell us a little bit about your story of how you kind of woke up and decided to really change your lifestyle.
Yes, I became a doctor to be able to travel the world, to work as a freelancer because you can do that easily in Norway. You can work, 24/7 for a couple of weeks and then you can go traveling for a month or more. And that was part of the reason why I became a doctor. And so I was sailing around the world with my family. We had been sailing for a year. We were about to cross the Panama Canal. And I got the message on a text message from my family that my father had fallen ill and got cancer. And he had just been on the boat in Southern Caribbean just a month earlier. And 3 months after that, he was dead. And I could just take a look in the mirror and I saw that my lifestyle was not ideal. So I'd done all the mistakes in the book. I used to weigh 40 pounds more. I didn't care what I was eating. I was drinking 2, 3 glasses of wine every day. Did not exercise, all because I was taught that the lifestyle changes could give you maybe 2 or 3 extra years. But it would take you 2 or 3 years to do that, to make the food, to go exercising, to sleep more. So I thought, why bother? I was just concerned about traveling the world. And then I saw that, okay, I'm getting nothing for free here from my genetics. I have to do the work myself. And then I started studying again. I hadn't read a book on medicine since I left school, You get tired of all the books on medicine. And then I saw that there was so much new information about how to use our lifestyle to get well. We learned in medical school how to categorize and treat disease. We did not learn how to create health. That was not on the curriculum. We had no idea that sleep was so important, microbiome, exercise, all of this that we know now that is so important for longevity and health. So anyway, I turned my life all around just for my own sake, and then through some serendipitous moments, suddenly I found myself being an author, writing 3 bestsellers on how to have a better lifestyle. The last one, the Pulse that you mentioned here, has been on the bestseller list in Norway for a year and 8 months. It's still number 7 on the bestseller list. So it has totally changed my life around. So now I really depend on my watch to keep track of my stress balance. So.
Congrats on the bestseller list. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about how heart rate reveals the state of your health.
Yeah. So we're talking heart rate variability, the variation between heartbeats. A concept that I did not know until 6 years ago when I read a great book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And you probably know it. And he was mentioning heart rate variability as a metric for the state of the autonomic nervous system that we had barely touched upon in medical school, but that is so important and vital for our function and our health. So Our autonomic nervous system that we share with all vertebrates, all mammals, is an ancient system. It's the on and off system in our body. Um, it's divided in two parts. The sympathetic part of it is the mobilizing part, the one that helps us to hunt or flee away from something that wants to eat us. And we have the parasympathetic part, which is the restorative part, which helps us recover from the strain from hunting and fleeing. And this is kind of the on and off system. And this is revealed in the heart rate. So when we are in the relaxed state, in the recovery phase, then when we breathe in, the heart rate goes up a little bit. And then when we breathe out and there's less oxygen in the lungs, the heart rate goes down a little bit to save some energy, measured in milliseconds, but detectable by the wearables. And if we are in the stress state, the heart will beat at a very steady pace, like a metronome. Because even if there's less oxygen in the lungs, the organism kind of interprets it that we are in danger, and we need to use all available forces now. We can't allow the body to rest on the out breath. So this way, the wearables can detect if we are in the stress state or the de-stress state, and they can measure whether this is a sustainable balance here. And lots of the trouble that creates disease is that we are too much in the sympathetic part compared to what we are constructed for. As human beings, we are constructed for the life on the savannah, where they would used to be in activity 2 or 3 hours a day, and then they would rest. So we're not made for this fast-paced society, never winding down and relaxing too little, sleeping too little. So then we get these stress-related diseases.
It all
And
relates to the cortisol production. So when you're in that, what you said, the sympathetic nervous system, the fight and flight, your body's producing cortisol, and that's creating inflammation. I know with my clients, it's the issue of fat deposition around the midline, appetite goes up. So your body is basically preparing for some type of stressful situation. But, we can have a stressful situation where somebody looks at us the wrong way, somebody cuts us up on the highway. So as you said, our bodies were not designed to live in the way that we live now. So talk a little bit about how we can utilize our smartwatches to measure our heart rate and to help us understand when we're, in that stress, when they're in the sympathetic fight and flight versus when we're more in the parasympathetic rest and digest place.
yeah, you can see. So on my, and it's particularly the Garmin watches. I must say that it's the Garmin watches that is by far the best option. And I have no affiliations or anything, but they can show that right now I have a stress level of 41. So kind of my physiological speed from 0 to 100 is now is 31. So I'm little bit calmer. So this will tell me like a speedometer for my intensity in the moment. And it can also be measured throughout the day. So I can identify that the problem was that the lunch was containing food that I couldn't tolerate well, or that stressed my system, that created inflammation in my intestines, and then raised the heart rate. So often for me, food is the biggest stressor. I'm not so stressed by emotional things or what you would normally call stress. But food would impact it greatly, and alcohol terribly. So in this way, you can see what effect different activities and food and drinks and relationships will have on your stress level. So you kind of it's kind of a conversation with your own body. It's kind of a window into your function that will help you regulate your stress level. And because the problem is that we never needed this sense. Throughout evolutionary history, all the threats came from the outside. So you have excellent eyesight, excellent hearing, excellent sense of smell and taste and touch and all of this. But the sense for our inner state has never been necessary. It has been just normal in the living conditions. If you didn't fight or flee, then you were relaxing, or getting food. So we never needed this sense of our inner system. Actually, this sense has even been muted. We have a very low ability to feel the stress level. So whether I would have 60 in a heart rate or 85 or maybe even 90, I would not be able to detect while I'm living my life and talking to people and having my attention elsewhere. So and that will mean a significant change in inflammation level. Whether you have 80 or 60 in a heart rate is a big difference in stress levels, and we can't feel it. So these wearables is kind of a substitute for a sense that we never needed to develop, and that will help us avoid the stress-related diseases, because then we can, of course, see it on our watches that we are overtaxing our systems.
So you mentioned food being one of your biggest issues in terms of what's creating the inflammation and stress to your system. Can you talk a little bit about what foods kind of create that inflammation and stress and what foods don't?
Yeah, and I can tell about the first time I was aware of this, because usually when you work as a doctor, it's the same work before and after lunch. And usually I have a salad for lunch. And then at one point, there was a colleague probably having a birthday or whatever, and I was having two really, really huge slices of cake, really good cake. And then I could see my stress level just went through the roof, and I could not understand. I was doing exactly the same job, but my heart rate would be maybe 20 beats, so maybe going from 60 in heart rate until 80. And then I understood that, okay, there's something here that is stressing my system from food. Who would have thought? Certainly, I never thought that food could be stressful. And after that, I saw that I can tolerate gluten poorly and milk poorly, and then combined with sugar and everything in this cake, this huge cake, that created a lot of stress. And another thing that stresses me a lot is chili. So if I eat chili, then the whole night I could as well get drunk. It will give me a big stress level throughout the night. So I find out that certain things like salad, Caesar salad, will give me little stress. So in this way, I can also regulate, the my stress levels with food.
So you're finding when you eat foods that increase your stress level, your heart rate increases, the
Yeah,
heart rate variability decreases. Is that what you're finding?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. The chili is interesting. Don't come to my garden because we've got some ghost peppers. We've got some lot of. It's interesting. I love what you're saying too, because I know that there's certain things, I'm sure processed food, sugars, probably
Hmm.
across everybody, but certain things like chili peppers and
Yeah.
even whether or not you're sensitive to dairy, I would think
Hmm.
vary depending on the individual.
Yeah. And processed food, a lot of people find sugar, and chocolate, crisps, a lot of these, how to say, things you eat when you want to have a really nice evening watching Netflix and so on, and you think that you are relaxing. When you see it on the watch, you see that it's full stress. I could as well be having a lecture in front of 200 people. It would be the same effect on my heart rate if I eat a big bag of crisps and have some chocolate. So, of course, when you see that, it's much easier to avoid eating that food when you don't have the capacity for it. So if you're stressed from many other causes, you don't want to add this stress as well into your life.
So why do you feel it's particularly important for midlife women to be doing this kind of monitoring? And is it enough just to listen to our bodies?
Yeah, and because we can't listen to our bodies, because we don't have the sense. When we hear the body making noise, so to speak, then it's gone far away. Then it has been a huge load on the system. So we cannot feel these subtle changes in inflammation that these things would represent. Certainly, I did not feel it before I got the watch. And when it comes to midlife, you can see that women will have a raised stress level from just being in the menopause, particularly if they haven't used any HRTs. And we can also see when it comes to hormone replacement that the bioidentical hormones, for so many people, seems to have a better effect on the heart rate variability. So often you can regulate and see whether one works better than another in the heart rate variability. And you can see that you are in the perimenopause or menopause by a worsening of the heart rate variability.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense because when estrogen's going down, it's more of the precursor can go to cortisol, can go to the stress. Estrogen is able to help to decrease your stress to some extent. It kind of mellows you out a little bit. And I think for women too, going through things like having hot flashes and having trouble sleeping, and estrogen impacts every part of the body. So that makes a lot of sense that you would have more stress and have more of a need to be able to regulate and to see whether or not what type of hormone replacement therapy is working for you. So really important information. So we talked about diet. I think you mentioned sleep, and you mentioned alcohol. Let's talk about all of these factors. So I think we've covered diet pretty much.
mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about sleep, because I know that's my leading thing that I need to work on. Most of the women I talk to have so much trouble getting good night's sleep. How does not sleeping well impact stress, and how can we work on getting a better night of rest?
Yeah. So of course, with the wearables, they are quite or very good at giving you an estimate of your sleep quality, both regarding the sleep phases. They're not 100% on the sleep phases, but on the heart rate variability throughout the night, as a measure of how restorative your sleep was. Then these devices are very good, and you will then see that a late meal will affect your sleep quality. Alcohol, terribly. That's the worst factor when it comes to stress. And whether you have been exercising too late or being focused, doing work, all the way until you went to bed. That used to be what I thought was good sleep, working hard until you were so tired that you had to go to bed. But then you can see on the watches that that is terrible sleep. That to get a good night's sleep, you need to wind down, go in for a soft landing in the evening, maybe 1 or 2 hours before you go to bed, dim the lights, calm down, do whatever calms you down. That will be different. Then you will get a restorative sleep. And you need enough sleep also, because according to Matthew Walker, with his brilliant book, Why We Sleep, can tell that if you sleep less than 6 hours, you will double your cancer risk compared to if you sleep more than 7 hours. So it's not only uncomfortable and that you don't feel well-being, being so tired, it's also dangerous, downright dangerous for your health through, for example, heart disease or cancer. So, of course, as a doctor, I used to work a lot of night watches. I had a night watch just last night, um, and certainly the whole day today I've been been not able to work, perform at my best because of the poor sleep. So I get to sleep somewhat during these watches on the ER, but certainly not enough to be rested. And I've also seen when I've been wearing a continuous glucose monitor that after such a night, I can have the same meal and my blood glucose will just spike so much more because there's more cortisol in the system. It's less insulin sensitive, is not so good. So I'll be insulin resistant, that some more insulin resistant. So sleep is super important. That's the most important thing. And the good part is that if you just let your body sleep, it will do the job itself. So you just have to make sure that you get enough sleep, and then the system of sleeping, of course, and sleep phases and so on will do its job. So you don't have to do an active part, so to speak.
So it's key
Uh,
to, like you said, the soft landing, turning off your screens, making sure your room is dark, cold,
Dark and
quiet,
cold, yeah.
and also
Mhm.
paying attention to your circadian rhythm. So trying to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, getting some early morning sunshine is also really, really powerful. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Sleep
I think,
consistency.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're just finding how important sleep is for everything from appetite control, as you said, insulin, blood sugar levels. Their body really does need that time to sleep. All right. So we've mentioned, in terms of the 8 factors, we've mentioned diet, we've mentioned sleep. What are the other 6 factors? I think you talked a little bit about
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah, physical movement. Yeah, it's important.
What do you
Alcohol
recommend?
is one of them. Was that
What do you
I would
recommend in terms of
recommend both building strength and building endurance capacity, so that you'll be able to walk. Maybe brisk walking should be enough. So if you're good at brisk walking, that you get a little bit short of breath when you walk fast, then probably 150 minutes a week would be okay. If you can do jogging, I think that a half-hour jogging then of those 150 minutes would be perfect. And then you need to, do some push-ups, squats, uh, these classic exercises. Squats is very important because people sit too much. And it's sad for me as a doctor to see the thin legs, with big bellies and thin legs. And I can see that this is not not good when you come into your last final decade. It will be hard, to move around. And I think that doing squats every day, 20, 25, 30, or whatever is you can do, is very, very important.
I would say get a standing desk too, which I use all the time, and I keep some free weights
Yeah.
back there. And I live in an island, so I don't have a gym, but there, you don't, like you said, you can do a lot of body weight. I think it's a good idea to get
Mm.
your heart rate up as well. Just, I find anything you can do to push your body outside its comfort zone so it can adapt and get stronger without actually hurting your body is a good thing. So cold showers and
Yeah.
saunas and all of those types of things. All right, so we talked about sleep, diet, movement.
Exactly.
Let's talk about alcohol. And I find
And but
especially
also one more thing on movement is that we shouldn't sit too much in a row. So we are made, traditionally we would be on the ground. So we would have to get up and down whenever something's happening. So the act of sitting for hours that so many people do is very, very bad for you. And also because of the lymph system, it needs movement to get the waste products and to get to the kidneys and liver and so on. So we need to move maybe every half hour, every hour, and many of these devices will tell you, move or time to use your legs or whatever. They will give you a message that you should move. So that's also very important.
And you've mentioned alcohol. And I know alcohol is it's a big issue for midlife women. I meet so many midlife women who say, when I was in my 20s, 30s, even early 40s, I could enjoy a drink or two. And then all of a sudden they hit menopause, and I know myself included, I don't enjoy alcohol anymore. It's like my body has lost its ability to metabolize alcohol. Why is alcohol such a bad thing if you are trying to make it to 100?
Mm. Yeah, it's a big stressor. It's a worse stressor. According to Whoop, which is one of the American brands of the wearables, it's the worst stressor of all. So, and you can see that on your Garmin watch, you can see that throughout the night, your stress is, really, really high. Not because of the alcohol, but alcohol will be transformed into acetaldehyde during the night, which is so toxic that the liver and the body has to prioritize that over any other uh, task that it has to do, which is why the immune system will also be worse after a night of drinking. So you'll be more susceptible for any kind of infectious disease and yeah, wound healing and whatever. So alcohol has a big effect for many people, not all. So a lot of couples can tell that, for example, one of them can tolerate two drinks very well, and the other one will be totally wasted. And I think it's part of it. It's just the general lower capacity for recovery. Just that you would also have a worse recovery from exercise than you would, 20 years earlier. So I'm not sure if it's only alcohol. I think it's in general that you can tolerate less stress as you age. Your body is less forgiving as a system, I think.
I think especially for women, because of the estrogen decrease too, we experience it, a lot more because estrogen really helps with the inflammation and with the stress. All right, so we've talked about diet, sleep, movement, alcohol. What are the other four factors for longevity?
Then we got smoking, of course.
Okay.
Stay away from smoking or also nicotine in any sort. So many people use vaping. I'm not sure in the US.
It's big.
Um, yeah, it's big. And so nicotine is a very sympathetic, force that will maybe in Norway, a lot of people use a kind of nicotine tobacco that you put under your lip,
Mhm.
and it would raise your heart rate, resting heart rate from like 60 to 70. Just this nicotine. And of course, then you have to decide, do I want to spend my energy on dealing with this nicotine, or do I want to spend it on being with my kids or having, the energy to do whatever I want? So vaping also will affect this. So, but smoking, of course, with cigarettes is so much worse. And then another of the strategies is to be able to downregulate your stress level, that you have some strategy to keep your stress down. And as a doctor, part of my job as a doctor, of course, is to see older people. And when I see people going into their 90s and still having their health, healthy brains and healthy bodies, they always have a certain air of restfulness about them. They are able to rest. They're not kind of sloppy, but they have the ability to calm down, to be calm. So I think that's really important. Um,
And two
yeah,
more.
what more? One of the other ones in this research was opioids, that you should stay away from opioids.
Okay.
So of course in the US you have a big crisis, but I'm sure it would be the same in Norway too. So when I see sick people, when you get these inflammation-based diseases, it will usually start in your 60s or late 50s, and you will just add one inflammatory disease after another. And they will often be on opioids, on medication for heartburn or a gastric ulcer, for statins, for cholesterol, for blood pressure, diabetes, depression, dementia, all of these inflammatory based diseases. So and opioids is one of the medicines that I see they often use. So it would probably be the same in Norway too.
All right. So just to review, so we've got diet, sleep, movement, avoiding alcohol, avoiding smoking, learning how to regulate your stress, staying away from certain medications. I think we're missing one more.
Sleep.
Sleep. Oh, we've got sleep, right? No, I think I mentioned sleep. Yeah. So good things
Really?
that we all can have control over. And just to recap, what are the best devices? Can you spell those out and say the best wearables if someone's listening and thinking, what's the best
Hmm.
wearable to purchase?
Yeah, the best and also the cheapest ones would be Garmin watches.
How do you spell
So
that?
I think the really Garmin watches,
Huh?
that's an American, their main places in Kansas. So
Okay.
Garmin watches, yeah. So they're traditionally the watches that athletes use. And the system that they have in their watches is a Finnish company called Firstbeat, which they have more than 20 years of physiological measurement, so they're very, very good. And Garmin bought their systems, their analytic systems, and put it into their watches, which is why they're better than the other watches. It's the way they present the data to you.
And do you spell
So
it, is it Garmand? Garmand?
the Garmin, Garmin,
Okay.
Garmin.
Garmin. Okay. That's
Yeah,
one I have
yeah.
not heard of. Of course, we think about the Apple Watches and I use my device
Mm,
heart math but really amazing stuff. So one more question.
mm,
So as a physician, if someone goes to their physician and wants to work on their own lifestyle, do you have any suggestions of how to actually talk to your doctor? Because so many doctors
mhm,
have less than an hour of nutrition. They are programmed or they've been taught to look for the disease and to treat it using pharmaceuticals. Any recommendations on how you can work with your
mm.
doctor in terms of
Yeah,
support to change your lifestyle and improve your health?
yeah, that would probably be hard because most doctors would not know this. In Norway now they do because of the success of the book, actually, but probably still in the US they would not know about this. So, but the good part is that this is a big shift because it's a shift from waiting until you get sick before doing anything and to do it before you get sick or avoid getting sick. But it's also a shift from having the power in the hands of the doctor and the healthcare system and putting it literally into your own hands. So it's the good thing about this is that you don't necessarily need the doctor to be informed. You can take control yourself and manage. So you're in the driver's seat suddenly, instead of being in the back seat or in the back of the ambulance, so to speak.
Yeah.
But so you can take, you'll find out so much about what to do and how to relate to it. So I think it's probably still some time until the doctors will know about this. But so many doctors know because There's so much research, and you can do research on menopause, on PMS, on endometriosis, on cancer, heart disease, and all of these things, and couple it with heart rate variability. Just Google it, and there's so much research on this because it's an easy metric to get. So I think more and more doctors, this is within 5 years they will all know about this, I'm sure.
So amazing information. Thank you so much for being here and sharing. I know I'm going to go out and get a Garmin watch myself, and I do a lot of wearables, but I don't actually have something that I'm wearing all the time. I'd like to do the heart math to just have my heart rate variability and my heart coherence, which is kind of looking at heart rate variability and how your heart is connected with your emotions and your thoughts. But I think the bottom line is how much control we have. I just watched that amazing documentary called You Are What You Eat. And I think it was just incredible how quickly people saw change within, 2 months' time. And I think the reason to do it, it's great to live longer, but it's also great to feel better now and to, know that you can feel amazing in your 50s and 60s. So thank you for the work you're doing. Again, the book is The Pulse Cure. I know it's on Amazon. Super easy read, amazing information that you can basically like get a window inside your body that you can take charge of your health. So Dr. Torkil, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you all so much for listening. I'm
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer. If you want to reach out to me, if you are hearing this and you're saying, but gosh, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to change my behavior, feel free to reach out to me at themidlifewhisperer.com, and we will catch you again on the next episode. Take such good care of yourself. Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit.